Olá, esse é o programa Academia em Debate da Chancelaria da Universidade Presbiteriana Mackenzie. Estou muito feliz com a sua audiência e tenho certeza que o programa de hoje vai ser de muita utilidade para a sua vida, porque nós vamos discutir a relação entre a psicologia moderna e a perspectiva cristã do que é o ser humano e como tratar do sofrimento, da depressão, das angústias que as pessoas geralmente sofrem. Conosco aqui nos estúdios do Mackenzie está o Dr. Eric Johnson. Dr. Eric Johnson é doutor em Psicologia da Educação pela Universidade de Michigan e ele está aqui no Brasil para o 5º Congresso Internacional de Ética e Cidadania do Mackenzie sobre exatamente psicologia e cristianismo. Dr. Eric Johnson, o senhor é muito bem-vindo ao nosso programa. É uma alegria recebê-lo e nós queremos começar com uma pergunta. Qual é a diferença que acreditar em Deus faz no tratamento do sofrimento das pessoas?
I think God makes an incredible difference regarding human suffering. If we're just individuals all by ourselves, alone in the world, suffering is an experience that we can only have by ourselves, and human beings can only comfort so much. To have a personal relationship with God, the God of the universe, the God of love, the God of who is holy and righteous, provides a kind of comfort that can make anything bearable. And therefore, to know this God enables a person, I think, to be able to never enjoy suffering. Suffering is a bad thing. It's a terrible thing. God doesn't like us to suffer, but it enables us to carry on through suffering and actually to turn it upside down and to find benefits in the sense of a deepening of wisdom, a greater spirituality, for example, that can come even from suffering.
O senhor sabe que uma das argumentações da psicologia moderna é que a ciência explica o mundo todo sempre em termos de causas naturais e que a psicologia, sendo uma ciência, ela pode explicar toda a dimensão da vida humana, do sofrimento humano e até da experiência religiosa sem necessariamente precisar de Deus como causa dessas explicações. O que é que o senhor acha disso?
Well, modern psychology is based on naturalism and basically modern psychology was the application of natural science methods from physics and chemistry to the study of human beings. And we've learned over the last 150 years that such methods are very helpful. There are many ways in which human experiences and thinking and behavior is shaped by natural occurring influences. Parents' care of their children can have does have a profound impact on their children and how they develop and how they think and how they feel. So there is benefits to that application of natural science methods to the study of humans. But there is so much more to human beings than can be studied strictly from a natural science perspective. One obvious example that even some existential psychologists have recognized is human freedom. Humans are not like all other animals in the world. We are able to make choices that cannot be predicted by natural science methods, and we will never be able to predict all of human behavior because humans are unique and special. In addition, Christianity has always taught that we were made by a God and made for relationship with Him, and this God transcends, of course, our ability to measure Him the way that we can measure other things in the natural order. But that doesn't mean that God doesn't exist, just because we can't fit Him into our measurement tools. And we have to be open to the possibility that there is a God that is supporting the world, that brought the world into existence, that a God who we are dependent upon for every breath we take. Natural science cannot answer questions about why we are here and why things are the way that they are. So I think a psychology that's open to the possibility of God's presence and even God's working in people is an open-minded kind of science.
Recentemente eu ouvi um pastor evangélico que também é psicólogo dizer que somente psicólogos é que têm condição de tratar com eficácia, seriedade os distúrbios das pessoas e que pastores que se metem a fazer isso, na verdade, eles acabam sendo charlatães. Procede esse tipo de afirmação?
I think when you look at the Bible and when you look at the history of the Christian church over the centuries, it's very clear that God is interested in healing the soul, and that the church has always been about the business of helping people and ministering to their souls and helping them with their suffering, helping them with their sin, and helping to build strong marriages, strong families. Now, the church has not been perfect at this. There are many examples of bad pastors and bad Christian counseling, but I personally believe that the church is the first place that Christians ought to go to receive help. And that pastors who are well trained in the Bible are going to be able to give all kinds of help to people regarding anxieties, regarding how to deal with suffering, regarding how to deal with a spouse who's not maybe as loving as you would like them to be. And this is what the Bible is about. This is what the life of Christianity is about. So we want to send, I want to send people to their pastors first. But that doesn't mean that pastors are going to know everything that there is to know about people problems. And I think maybe that person that was talking to you is thinking about the worst cases, the most difficult cases, people with schizophrenia, people with severe depression or whatever. And I think that it's appropriate for pastors to deal with their people, but if they encounter someone whose problems are bigger than they are aware of in their own training, how to help them, then they should refer, hopefully, to someone that is spiritually oriented, but someone that maybe has training in these especially complicated problems.
A depressão tem sido considerada como a doença do século. Existem milhares e milhares de pessoas deprimidas, inclusive cristãos. Qual é a causa da depressão? Será que é falta de fé? Será que é pecado tomar remédio contra a depressão? Veremos isso no próximo bloco com o Dr. Eric Johnson. Esse é o programa Academia em Debate, hoje com o Dr. Eric Johnson, aqui nos estúdios do Mackenzie, tratando sobre a relação entre cristianismo e psicologia. E nós vamos agora perguntar para ele a respeito da depressão. Dr. Johnson, muita gente sofre de depressão, inclusive pessoas que se professam cristãs. Quais seriam, na sua opinião, as causas da depressão? E aproveitando a pergunta, o senhor considera errado um crente tomar remédio contra a depressão? You got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so. Yeah, my view of problems like depression is that they can be approached from 3 levels of understanding. The first level is the spiritual level. The second level is the psychological level, and the third level is the biological level. And I think from a Christian standpoint, we want to begin by asking questions about the spiritual level. often there is spiritual causes for depression, and we should explore them. Perhaps a person does, because they don't have a relationship with God, they're depressed. We're made to have a relationship with God, and if we lack that most important relationship in life, that is going to have an impact on us. I've found also that people who are, for example, let's say they're having an affair, that can cause depression. It doesn't always cause depression, but that can be a contributing factor. So I think we also have to ask about, are there things in their lives that they know are wrong, that are wearing them down, that are causing them to feel sad about themselves? I think these are spiritual things that we need to look at first. Secondly, though, if we deal with the spiritual conditions and we ask questions about them and we don't uncover some problems, I think we should go to the next level and look at the psychological level. Maybe there are certain patterns of living their lives that they learned from their families that they grew up with. Maybe they grew up with a very depressed parent. Maybe they were criticized chronically, day after day. You're a stupid boy, and you need to work harder. And they grew up feeling these deep sense of inadequacy. Well, let's look at that. Let's try and help them to understand that these are not the way that God views them, and that these beliefs that they've received when they were children, they can turn away from them and they can receive instead God's view of them that can revolutionize their approach. But that would be looking at the psychological level. And then thirdly, sometimes you look at the spiritual level, you look at the psychological level, and there are still problems there. It may be that there is something wrong biologically. And so I think it's appropriate to go to that level too, and maybe it is necessary to have a medication that would help alleviate that, so that then they can think more appropriately and be more open to exploring the spiritual and the psychological dimensions of their problems.
Muito bem. Uma questão relacionada com a depressão é aquilo que tem sido chamado comumente no tratamento da depressão de baixa estima. Geralmente é dito que muitos dos problemas das pessoas é porque elas têm uma avaliação subdimensionada delas mesmas. Elas não se gostam, elas se consideram a pior de todas as pessoas, inferiores, e que o que se deve fazer é aumentar a autoestima daquelas pessoas. Como é que uma visão cristã de aconselhamento vê essa questão?
I think modern culture is an individualistic culture. And in modern culture, the self is kind of the center. And so often what happens in modern therapy is the problem is it has to do with the self, and you need to love yourself more, you need to be more positive about yourself. I think, and there is an element of truth there, but from a Christian standpoint, the most important issue in the universe is not me by myself, but it's my relationship with my Creator. I'm made for relationship with God, and so much more important than me as an individual is God. He's the center of the universe as the creator, as my creator. And so I think from a Christian standpoint, we want to begin with thinking that what's most important about my problems is how am I related to God? And that's going to have an impact on one's self-esteem. If a person is in relationship to the most beautiful, greatest being in the universe, and the God of the Bible is a loving God, a compassionate God, a holy and righteous God, a strong God. If I'm in relationship with God, that's going to have a big impact on my self-esteem. And what we find when we read the Bible is that when a person becomes a Christian, God gives them many good blessings. For example, you become a child of God, as well as being in relationship with Him. And that's wonderful news, to know that God loves me as His son or daughter. And so that as I seek the Scriptures, as I open my heart up to them, as I pray and develop a relationship with Him, that's going to have an impact on my self-esteem, but not in a way where I'm the center of the universe, but in what I think is a healthier way, in a way that where God is the center of the universe, and His beauty and His goodness and His love reflects and touches my soul and makes me happier.
Mas uma das doutrinas principais do cristianismo é que o ser humano, ele é pecador. Ele está debaixo do julgamento de Deus e da ira de Deus. Essa ênfase do cristianismo na queda do homem, na sua corrupção interna e na sua impossibilidade de agradar a Deus, não acaba sendo um fator que contribui para as pessoas se sentirem com muita baixa estima?
I think that many people in our culture have a misunderstanding of Christianity. Because of the doctrine of sin, they think Christianity is so negative. But what I want to do is I want to go before the doctrine of sin and point out that when God created human beings, He created us good. And He created us for goodness. He created us for Him. And He's a good God and a loving God. But we as human beings find ourselves now that there's something wrong with us. There's something inside the human heart that is distorted and damaged. And I think, honestly, a Christian view is not negative, it's realistic, it's honest about the problems that human beings have. And I think that way deep down, we all know that there's something that's not right with me. I'm not as loving as I should be. I'm not as kind to others as I should be. I think way deep down, every human being knows that. And so I see the Christianity as rightly diagnosing the human condition. And what's even better is that God doesn't leave us in this situation of having a troubled soul, but He offers us a relationship, to be restored in relationship with Him, and ultimately an eternity in heaven. And so Christianity begins with a good message that we were created good and longing for that goodness, but we find something's not right with us, and then He promises us that through Jesus we can be reconciled to this great God, and then at the end of our lives can live with Him forever. This is a very happy message, and I think it gives Christians optimism that things can be very much better for them as they open themselves up to this great message of Christianity.
Muita gente se sente culpada porque trai o marido, trai a esposa, tem uma vida sexual livre. Como é que um psicólogo e um psicólogo cristão lida com essas coisas? É o que nós veremos no próximo bloco com o Dr. Eric Johnson. Até lá. Estamos de volta com a Academia em Debate e agora, nesse último bloco, nós vamos tratar da questão da culpa por causa do comportamento sexual. Dr. Eric Johnson, o que o senhor diria para uma pessoa que viesse ao seu consultório se sentindo extremamente culpada, deprimida, com senso de culpa porque está traindo o marido, está traindo a esposa ou porque tem uma vida sexual absolutamente livre?
That's such an important question, and for me, honestly, it's a very personal question, because before I was a Christian, I lived sexually immoral. And you know, it's strange because I wanted to live sexually in ways where I would have sex with different people over the weeks and months of my life. But I knew, way deep down, I knew there was something wrong. But I wasn't a Christian, I wasn't raised as a Christian, but way deep down in my heart, I knew that I was using people for my own selfish ends. But I didn't know what to do about that. I didn't have any answers to get out of that, and so I continued to live in this unhappy life. So when somebody finally came to me and shared with me that I could receive forgiveness from Jesus Christ, this was such a good message for my soul. And I remember when I heard that, I talked with this person for a couple hours, late into the evening, and at a certain point, I sensed I needed something outside myself. I needed a solution that wasn't just me in my limited resources. I needed something from outside myself to help me. And this person was telling me that God would help me through Jesus Christ. So I gave my life to Christ. And all the bad things that I had done, I said, God, would you please forgive me for all my selfishness, for all the bad things that I had done. And I remember waking up the next day and knowing that all my burdens were off of me and were on Jesus. And I felt like I was walking off the ground. And nobody had to tell me that Christianity was good for the soul, because I knew it from the first day that I was a Christian. So since that, after I studied psychology and I started teaching counseling, it was obvious that Christian counseling has so much to offer people who come from such backgrounds, and this is something I know from my own personal experience.
O senhor não consideraria que seria falta de ética, pelo menos aqui no Brasil, talvez fosse considerado assim, um profissional, um psicólogo, ainda que cristão, tentar ajudar as pessoas compartilhando a sua visão religiosa, por exemplo, o evangelho como sendo a solução para a sua culpa e para a sua adição a determinadas práticas?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the rules for counseling in Brazil, but I consider it to be really unfair and unjust for any culture. And we have similar, I think, rules in America, but I consider it unjust for any culture to forbid people to talk about religious matters in counseling when it's widely acknowledged that most religions have some way of dealing with people's guilt and shame. And in particular, Christianity, this is very important to the heart of Christianity. So if we really care for people in our counseling, it seems to me that we would want to open up counseling where we deal with such things as guilt and shame, and therefore I think for Christian counselors, it someday I hope that in America and in Brazil and throughout cultures in the West, that it will be understood that if a counselee wants to talk about such things, and if a counselor understands these things and wants to share them, that it's completely appropriate and it's just and right for them to have the opportunity to talk about these things. And until that sort of a change happens, I really think that there's something kind of biased and prejudicial against Christian counseling in the West. And I hope someday in the next few years this will be a matter that will be addressed.
Uhum. O seu doutorado foi em Psicologia da Educação numa das universidades mais conceituadas dos Estados Unidos, que é a Universidade da Pensilvânia, a Universidade de Michigan. E essa Universidade de Michigan, ela é uma universidade do Estado, é uma universidade pública. Como é que o senhor, como cristão convicto, conseguiu navegar na academia americana secularizada e completar um doutorado nessa área que é tão influenciada pela visão naturalista?
It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. I came very well prepared. I got some theological degrees and worldview degrees that I felt helped me to be very well prepared to go into that environment. And I wasn't looking to cause any problems, and I had very good relationships with my other students and with my faculty. But I also felt that it was appropriate once in a while to raise issues about the Christian faith, sometimes in class, sometimes in my papers. I would write about God, you know, as I thought it was appropriate. And I don't think I was ever really discriminated against in my faculty. I think they treated me as any other faculty, and so it never affected my grades anyway. I never failed a class for it. I did have a couple of times some faculty would pull me aside and kind of say, you know, Eric, you talk about religion a little too much, and I just want to help you just to realize that other people in the field might look down at you if you're not careful, and I just want to help you to maybe you should tone it down a little bit. So there was a little bit of subtle pressure to tone it down, but it never got any worse than that, and I graduated okay, and look back on those years as very grateful for that education. I do, however, believe that I hope that someday there will be more freedom for people like myself, and as well for Christian faculty. My advisor was a Christian at Michigan State University. She was a Christian, but she felt that she couldn't talk about it. And I felt sorry for her. I felt that there's something wrong in a public university if you feel like you can't talk about things that are important to you in a field of psychology where I think religion is appropriate to talk about in the study of human beings, because so many human beings are religious. So this was 20, 30 years ago, and things have changed a little bit in America, a little more openness to spirituality and religion than back then. But I thought that was unfortunate for her.
Uhum. Esse foi o programa Academia em Debate, hoje tratando do tema Psicologia e Religião. Queremos agradecer ao Dr. Eric Johnson, que está conosco no estúdio. Muito obrigado, doutor, que veio dos Estados Unidos para o 5º Congresso Internacional de Ética e Cidadania, Psicologia e Cristianismo aqui no Mackenzie. Se você deseja nos escrever, fazer alguma pergunta, algum questionamento ou alguma contribuição, você pode escrever para esse e-mail aqui, academiaemdebate@mackenzie.br. Nós teremos prazer em responder. Muito obrigado pela sua audiência e até o próximo Academia em Debate.